Hi everyone, hope you're keeping safe in this horrendous situation that we find ourselves in. As usual, I'm working from home and taking a lunch break. I think I mentioned the fact that I thought I had an issue with one of my Wellbrook loops when I recorded the video kind of just describing what I've been getting up to last weekend on the first weekend of lockdown. So I suppose a bit of background on that. My loops at the moment, although I'm really lucky in that my new QTH is significantly less noisy than my old QTH. I mean, it's a much bigger house anyway, bigger space. But my loops aren't exactly set up in an optimum way. They're both basically, they're not actually sat on the ground. They're on short posts on the ground, and I'm just working on a tripod now. I've got another one to set them up properly. But yeah, it was annoying to find when I moved here that one of my loops seemed to be performing a lot better than the other. Now, I didn't really realise at the time. Now, not that I knew there was a problem at the time, but because one of these loops had never been in the same location until I moved here. One had been basically just sat in my window at work in my office for God knows how long, a year or two, and the other loop had been in the garden shed at home in my old QTH. Having said that, even though I'd been using them sort of separately, I hadn't noticed any difference in performance. But when I got here, and I took my loop from work here as well and set them up, I noticed sort of quite quickly that the signal to noise on one of them was always much better than the other. And the reason for that is because the noise floor was invariably higher on one of these loops than the other, which, you know, I was about to say I can't tell you how annoying that is, but I guess you can understand how annoying that is. I'm fortunate to have two Wellbrook loops. The first one I bought new, I don't know, 4 years ago, and then they don't come up on eBay very often at all, but one did a couple of years ago, and I got it for a couple of £100, about half of what I'd paid for a new one. So, you know, I was really fortunate. And then to discover that one of them was actually underperforming was actually really annoying. And then I remember one evening where I was like literally disconnecting cables from the interface box and replacing them with other cables and etc. etc. And I was here on my hands and knees for an hour or two, kind of trying to doing that, and I couldn't actually see any improvement. I swapped over the actual loops with the interface boxes, and it just seemed to pass the problem from one spectrum to the other. And I don't know what happened, but I went to Australia, obviously, and I always take the coaxial cable that Dennis from Bonito gave me when he supplied one of his antennas a long time ago, because it's quite high spec. I can't remember what it is. I could look it up. And what I did was I got here and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to kind of like resolve this problem with these loops. And I replaced one of the cables, the cable from the window jumper. And if you guys aren't aware of these things, so basically these allow you to pass coaxial cables through, well, this is a patio door. So what you've got is one Wellbrook loop, two Wellbrook loop, and then this is the cable that runs from my G5RV transmitting antenna to my MFJs, and I have two of them. So that's the setup for FT8, which comes in through a window jumper, and that's the setup for voice SSB, comes in through the same window jumper, and I just literally swap the cables over on the back. So anyway, so the cable from the window jumper to the interface box, I replaced with one of these that Dennis Walter had provided me very kindly, and lo and behold, the problem went away. And here you can see a signal on 693 medium wave, and if you look at the noise floor, it's basically identical. The signal to noise it's about 42 dBs, 41.7, 42 dBs, where you can just see basically, and if you look at it, it's essentially identical signal. And if we go down to, let's go down to long wave, antenna Satilor, and you can see, yeah, again, I won't bother changing the audio bandwidth filter, but you can see again, we've got a signal to noise of about 8.5 dBs, Slightly higher signal to noise here. It's measuring, actually, I'll tell you what, if I should actually change this. Let's go to about 4 kilohertz, because that might make a difference. There we go. So the signal to noise is basically the same. 10 dBs, now 9 dBs, 6.2, 6.4. That's interesting. On long wave, actually, the signal to noise with one of these loops is not quite so good, but the actual but the signal is actually different. Here we have minus 81.7 dBm and minus 79. So yeah, that's interesting that it's not exactly the same on long wave. Maybe if we try let's try a bigger signal, maybe not that big, not BBC Radio 4, but let's go for 225. Sorry, 234. 234. Now we've got signal to noise of 34 dBs, 35 dBs, 38 dBs, 36. So, you know, on long wave there it does seem to be a little bit of a difference, but again, you know, it's if you actually look at what in terms of DX, it's all about the noise floor. That's what's gonna kill DX or get you DX. And I think these signal to noise readings, I don't know how accurate they are or not, but there you go, 36 dBs, 37. So, you know, give or take, they seem to be now operating almost identically. I mean, prior to changing that cable over, actually, they were significantly different. The noise floor on one of these was about 10 dBs higher than the other. So what we've got now, there you go, 20, so we've got 22, 23 dBs and 22, 23 dBs. So you can see, I mean, basically to all intents and purposes, you know, you've got the same performance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run this test tonight. I'm going to run this test tonight. I'm going to see if I can find some medium wave, transatlantic medium wave DX, and I'm going to run this test tonight, and just to sort of double check. But I think that's you know, give or take. You know, if you look at that now, there's nothing in it really, which is good, because at the end of the day, if you've paid for 2 Wellbrook loops, you want 2 Wellbrook loops that perform the same. So there you go. Okay, well, I thought I'd share that with you. I'll do another video later. Keep safe, everybody. It's a nightmare situation, but we've got the best hobby in the world for these sorts of times. So just keep safe. Okay, I wish you all the best. 73.